that we're on, I need to remind everybody, is sacred soil. It is sacred soil. And what New Communities has done here is given us this opportunity to bless this land over and over and over again. So we need to remember that we need to walk with grace and love. And we're here because of the love we have each other and the love that we have for the earth and the soil as well, too. So, you know, don't forget that.
Hear, hear.
Yeah.
In March of 2015, we headed south to Georgia to investigate the connections between African American land tenure, eating, and health.
We were interested in the economic and social impacts of policies that have shaped rural and urban landscapes and the legacy of African Americans who have maintained land. The primary question on our mind was understanding if owning land or a home or having a family history of such possessions is related to your health or what you eat.
So how are those things related? Studies have shown that socioeconomic status can significantly influence your health, and most American wealth today is accounted for in land and real estate. In 1910, African American land ownership in the United States reached its peak of 15 million acres, but by the end of the 20th century, numbers had declined drastically to about 2.3 million acres based on data from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. That's a decline rate of 53%, while during the same period, white counterparts have experienced steady growth in land ownership.
There was just remarkable discrimination in the economic side of small farming. Black farmers couldn't get loans. They simply could not get loans, and I mean it was from the top. The agriculture department, I mean, they just didn't enforce that in the South. In the meantime, white farmers were getting loans. They were getting subsidies, you know.
So much of African American farm land loss was due to hurdles set up by federal and local governments. And with ongoing discrimination and Jim Crow laws, you also see black landowners abandoning land and heading for the promise of better lives in northern cities.
The economic side of it just became untenable for so many different reasons, as I suggested. So that never came. It just sort of forced you off the farm. Even if you had an interest in it, you couldn't do it.
To explore these issues, we headed to Albany, Georgia, where we met with Charles and Shirley Sharpe, two living civil rights legends active in the pursuit of both maintaining black agricultural traditions in the region and making space for younger generations to participate. The Sharades founded New Communities Incorporated in 1969. It was a 5,000-acre community-run farm collective that leased land to its members. New Communities was the nation's first land trust and one of the earliest examples of social entrepreneurship.
During the 1980s, the United States experienced an extreme drought. Most farmers had to rely on loans from the United States Department of Agriculture to survive this drought. However, New Communities was unable to secure loans and as a result was forced to close operations, and they were forced off of their land. The USDA failed to provide a clear reason for denying the funds. In 2009, New Communities won a settlement in the Pickford v. Glickman class action discrimination lawsuit in response to the practice of unequal dispersion of loans by the department.
New Communities was not the only group of black farmers to lose their land as a result of the inability to receive support from financial institutions. In Georgia, we spoke with locals who had managed to endure these injustices to hear about their land experiences in their diet and health.
My great-grandfather, he bought it like in 1910. He bought a piece, maybe 20-something acres. In 1914, he bought another 25, 30 acres until it all got up to 450 acres.
We rented some additional land. So what we have originally is inherited.
Farmland that my husband and I farm is 1,600 acres of an original 4,500 acre farm that was owned by the Nation of Islam in the 60s. In 1993, Minister Farrakhan decided he wanted to recoup everything that the Nation of Islam once owned.
We gathered from the farmers and community members that we spoke with that there was still a sense of family connection to land and agricultural traditions. But this was being lost. There was a lot of consensus and emphasis around certain themes and needs. There was the importance of conserving land, maintaining and renewing traditions of food growing, and how will we make farming economically sustainable for Black farmers.
And now, in the last 3 years, we started back again. So it's like, wow, here we go again, going back to what we used to do, which is farming. Because from all I know is that my grandfather and my great-grandfather, all they did was farm. In this land, they've been on it ever since I've known myself. So it's definitely, our family is definitely one of protecting the land.
And they said, what do you do? I'm a farmer. What? Farmer? Really? You know, it's like the stigma is you step below. You know, that's just how it is. But we don't understand, and we still not understanding the value. It's just not being translated from generation to generation. I witnessed my great-grandfather make wealth. I witnessed that. Even though they were selling seeds, even though they were allowed to do that, he still hit that. Well, he earned. The kids are spending it now.
Wow.
His grands. Now, and I know this.
Right. See, those men back then educated a lot of people from the land. You know, they bought land and sent their children off to school. That land helped to educate families to lift that family more out of poverty.
And there is no, I guess, history. We didn't carry that history of just the small gardening for yourself. Quite honestly, I don't know what happened there. I can't figure that little small gardening part out. I understand and can trace back what happened with the farming as a living, but farming as a way of helping to feed yourself with a small garden, I don't know why that disappeared.
This issue of not growing healthy food is not just an urban issue, it's a regionalist issue. Nonetheless, people were eager to tell us their stories of growing up in Southwest Georgia and discuss what kinds of food appear on their tables.
My culture is that we had to eat one of the 5 basic food groups in our setting. My parents made sure my mother cooked that way. We had one of them every day, at least twice a day. Well, today we eat so different from what my mother ate. My mother's 92 years old, and she still drives a car and goes to the supermarket and lives alone. And she's healthy. If it wasn't for her joints, which is time, she wouldn't have a cry in the world. But it's because her foundation of eating was so different.
One of the things I do remember when my grandmother was still living is that when we would eat out on the farm with her, you had a set amount of food that you would get because she was getting eggs from her chicken coop. She was getting, you know, the chickens from the yard and butchering them, and you know, you got your one piece of meat, and we're like, Grandma, I want another piece of meat. Baby, that's all you get, because that was it. It wasn't for us, you know. You only ate, you know, what she could provide, and I noticed the difference between, you know, how big I am versus my cousin who grew up out on the farm. You know, he you know, ate, you know, food that my grandmother prepared, and it was, you know, a moderate amount and just what he needed. So
in some interviews, we even had people confess that after returning to farming or beginning to do work with Southwest Georgia Project, they were more concerned about what foods went into their bodies.
We are more, we can get more. We are able to reach out, and knowing that we can reach out and go, you know, get a case of kale. I can share this. You know, I'm doing more smoothies now than I've ever done because I can go get a case of kale. I can get a case of things that, you know, some people don't necessarily have access to, or, you know, to get in bulk, or even like to try, you know.
Things are just home. The cornbread, the peach cobbler, you know, that's home food.
Gotcha. Do you consider these dishes to be healthy?
Depending on how you prepare it. I love the soul food, and what I've done over the years, I've been, talking with my family about preparing them differently.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of using pork as a meat to season your vegetables, use, smoked turkey.
Mm.
Instead of using lard, the lard to put into your greens, use olive oil.
We remember the most, and that I feel like we had all the time, was fried chicken, rice, and French-style green beans and/or macaroni and cheese. That was the plate.
Mm-hmm.
And if I get that in any variation, I just take this memory lane thing back to the table and see my mom and dad and young people. Yeah, that's probably, is that my favorite meal now? No, not necessarily.
And do you make these things yourself now?
Yes, I know how, but I don't necessarily do that variation. I'm trying to do better. We do more vegetables than we did when I was a child. A lot of cabbage. I like cabbage and broccoli. My kid loves broccoli, and
I'm definitely not a farmer, but the work that I've done the past 2 years has almost persuaded me. Like, I would consider a plot of land to grow fruits and vegetables wholesomely. And when I do have children, I want them not on processed baby food and stuff like that. Like, I would probably, find a farmer or grow it myself and make sure that they...
So for many of the African Americans that we spoke with in Southwest Georgia, although conventional soul food is still a favorite, healthy eating is also a concern on a day-to-day basis. So, if there was an alternative storyline to the discrimination against black farmers and those farmers hadn't have lost disproportionate amounts of land, would the state of African American wealth and ultimately health be different? Possibly. Nonetheless, we stay hopeful for African American farmers. There's hope for Southwest Georgia and the Southwest Georgia Project. And as California becomes increasingly drier, there will be a shift in demand for food supplies from other regions, and they will likely land in Southwest Georgia.
And now we're starting to see a resurgence of young farmers coming back to the farm, coming back to their family farm to run the land.
So, I know the interview's over, but one last question. So, we were in Resora, and we were wrapping up. We were talking about, the future of the community. And it seemed to me that, everyone who was involved with growing was pretty optimistic about the future of, land and black tenureship. But I didn't understand why. I didn't understand why people were so optimistic.
Well, you have to look at reality, and you see so much I call ignorant disparity. That people are there, but they're not aware of what's really going on around them. But there are a few that really sometimes come through. You say, okay, all you have to do is you have to plant the seed. And you can't worry about who gets it and who don't. As long as you plant the seed, and you gotta have that belief. You gotta have that hope within. When you look at it, I tell myself all the time when I get down, I say, I got it. How did I get it? It was a seed plant.
Okay.
So, I can't get discouraged and not do it. I got to keep working and plant the seed. Somebody's going to get it. Maybe they'll pop up, while I'm here to teach them. That's what I'm hoping. And maybe they won't. Maybe somebody will share something with them, along the way.